They said I should have cursed her out, thrown my ring at him, stormed out crying. But when that woman showed up at my baby shower wearing a maternity dress identical to mine, claiming she was carrying my husband's child, I just smiled, turned on the recording app I'd been running for weeks, and watched everything they'd built crumble in real time. Before I tell you how I dismantled a construction business with voice recordings, bank statements, and the kind of patience only a woman who's been preparing can have, hit that subscribe button right now, because what happens next is going to leave you speechless. Trust me, you don't want to miss a single second of this. My name is Keisha Matthews, and I used to believe that loyalty was everything. I'm not talking about the kind of loyalty you promise in wedding vows and forget about when things get hard. I mean real loyalty, the kind where you sacrifice your own dreams, where you work 2 jobs to support someone else's vision, where you trust completely because that's what love is supposed to be. I believed in that kind of loyalty until the day my world exploded at a baby shower in my own mother's backyard in South Memphis. I was 32 years old, 7 months pregnant with my first child, and surrounded by 40 of my closest friends and family when she walked in. Deshaun had insisted on a co-ed baby shower, said he wanted to celebrate with everyone, wanted his boys there too. Looking back now, the man was just setting the stage. I should have known something was wrong for months. My husband Deshaun had been different, secretive, always deleting his messages before I could see the screen, coming home smelling like perfume I didn't own, working late on projects that never seemed to finish. My sister Tamika kept telling me to check his phone, to hire someone, to wake up. But I kept making excuses. He's stressed about the baby. He's worried about money. He's trying to build the business bigger before our son gets here. I had an excuse for everything, because admitting the truth meant admitting I'd wasted 6 years on a man who didn't deserve them. That afternoon, I wore a cream and gold dress that my mother spent too much money on, but she said I looked like royalty. Even with my swollen feet and my back aching, I felt beautiful. Deshaun barely looked at me all day. He kept checking his phone, watching the driveway, his knee bouncing like he was waiting for something. He was. She pulled up in a white BMW I didn't recognize. Raven Johnson, tall, dark-skinned like me but younger, prettier, confident in a way that made my stomach drop before I even knew why. She worked for Deshaun's construction company. Or so he'd mentioned once, months ago. Just the new project manager, he said. Nobody you need to worry about. Funny how the people you're told not to worry about are always the ones who destroy everything. Raven walked through my mother's gate, like she'd been invited. She wore a maternity dress, cream and gold, exactly like mine. Not similar, identical. She bought the same dress I was wearing. She walked straight up to me and Deshaun, put her hand on her belly, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Deshaun, we need to talk about the nursery. I want to make sure our baby's room matches what you're doing for his other child." The backyard went silent. You know that moment in movies where everything stops and all you can hear is birds chirping and your own heart breaking? It's real. I could hear my mother gasp. I could hear my sister Tamika say, "Oh, hell no," under her breath. I could feel my son moving inside me, like he knew his mother's world was ending. Deshaun didn't deny it, didn't push her away, didn't tell her to leave. His face just went blank. Guilty. Caught. Terrified. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. Didn't slap her even though my hands were shaking. Instead, I looked at Deshaun and asked one simple question. "How far along is she?" He couldn't answer. Just stood there frozen. So Raven answered for me, rubbing her belly like this was normal. 5 months, she said, actually smiling. "And before you start acting crazy, you should know Deshaun already promised to leave you after the baby's born. This is just happening faster than we planned." 5 months. I did the math. That meant he was with her when we announced my pregnancy on social media, when we went to ultrasounds and found out we were having a boy, when we argued about names and looked at cribs and planned our future. He was planning a completely different future with her. But Raven wasn't done. "Oh, and Deshawn's been using your money to help me start my own design business," she announced, looking at me like I was stupid. "That $30,000 you thought he invested in new equipment? That was my startup fund. So really, you helped build my future too. Thanks for that." Deshawn finally found his voice. "Keisha, baby, let me explain." "Explain what?" I asked. Too calm. Too quiet. "Explain how you've been planning to divorce me after I give birth because it's easier to get custody when the mother's exhausted? Because, baby, I've been recording every conversation in this house for 3 weeks. I know everything." His face went white. Raven's smile disappeared, and that's when I excused myself, walked into my mother's house with as much dignity as a 7 months pregnant woman could manage, and made 4 phone calls. First, to my lawyer, Marcus Henderson, the one I'd retained 3 weeks ago when I first found suspicious charges on our joint credit card. "Marcus," I said, "it's time, file everything." Second call was to my accountant, Mrs. Patricia Williams. "Freeze the accounts, all of them. Start the forensic audit." Third call was to my sister, Tamika. "Call Jerome. Tell him to bring the truck. Bring everything we packed. It's happening today." Fourth call was to Deshawn's biggest client, Mr. Reynolds, who'd trusted us with a $200,000 renovation project. "Mr. Reynolds, this is Keisha Matthews. I need to tell you something about your contractor before you lose your investment." Then I fixed my makeup, walked back outside, and said, "Since we're all here, let's open presents. I want to see what y'all bought for my son before the real show starts." Let me tell you how I got to this moment, because this didn't happen overnight. This was weeks of planning, of documenting, of staying quiet while I gathered evidence. If you're already hooked by this story of betrayal and strategic revenge, smash that like button and drop a comment telling me what you would have done in Keisha's position. Would you have stayed calm or fought back immediately? Let me know below. And don't forget to subscribe. Deshawn and I met 9 years ago in Atlanta. He was working construction with big dreams of starting his own company. I was an accountant at a mid-sized firm, making decent money, building my career. We fell in love over late-night talks about building something together, about creating generational wealth, about being the couple that made it. He said I was his backbone, his reason to dream bigger. I believed every word. When he wanted to start Matthews Construction, I gave him $50,000 from my savings, my entire emergency fund, the money I'd been saving since I was 16 years old. "This is our future," he said. "Our empire, not just mine." When he needed capital to bid on bigger projects, I co-signed loans, $75,000 to buy equipment, $100,000 to hire workers. My credit score, my reputation, my financial future on the line for his dreams. When he landed his first major contract, I introduced him to my clients from the accounting firm, wealthy people who trusted my judgment. I opened doors for Deshawn that his construction skills alone never could have opened. Everything he built, we built together. Or so I thought. 2 years ago, when we bought our house in Cordova, I put down the entire down payment, $80,000 from an inheritance my grandmother left me, but Deshawn insisted we put the house in his name only. "Better for business write-offs," he said. "Better for taxes. Trust me, baby. I know what I'm doing." I trusted him. Signed papers without questioning, because you don't expect the person you love to be planning your downfall. But here's what Deshawn didn't know about me. My grandmother didn't raise a fool. Before she died, she sat me down and said, "Baby, I love you, but love makes women stupid sometimes. Keep copies of everything. Every check, every transfer, every contribution. Keep it somewhere he can't find it." I kept receipts, bank statements, emails, text messages. Screenshots of every conversation about business decisions. Proof of every dime I put into Matthew's construction. Proof that the major contracts came through my connections. My grandmother also told me, the day you feel something's wrong, stop hoping you're wrong and start preparing like you're right. 3 weeks before that baby shower, I found a receipt in Deshawn's truck. Dinner for 2 at Ruth's Chris. $300. I never went to Ruth's Chris with him. That receipt made me stop hoping and start preparing. I installed a recording app on my phone. Every conversation in our house got recorded. I made copies of every business document I could access. I opened my own bank account and started transferring money from our joint account bit by bit, just taking what I'd contributed. I met with Marcus Henderson and told him everything. I hired a private investigator named James Cooper. Within a week, James had photos. Deshawn and Raven at hotels, at restaurants, at a prenatal appointment together. James found out Raven wasn't just some project manager. She'd been sleeping with married men at 3 different companies before Matthew's construction. This was her pattern. Find a man with money, get pregnant or claim to be pregnant, and extract whatever she could get. Sitting in my mother's backyard, watching Raven smirk and Deshawn sweat, I knew they thought they'd blindsided me. They thought I was just some pregnant woman who would fall apart and make their lives easier. They had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I woke up early, made Deshawn his favorite breakfast, salmon croquettes, cheese grits, and toast, exactly how his mama used to make it, kissed him goodbye like nothing had happened. He looked confused, definitely suspicious. "Are we good?" he asked. I smiled. "We're perfect, baby. Have a good day at work." The second his truck left our driveway, my team arrived. Marcus brought his paralegal and an IT specialist. Mrs. Williams brought 2 forensic accountants. Tamika brought Jerome and his moving truck, and 4 strong men from church. We had 8 hours before Deshawn came home, and we were going to use every single minute. Here's what we discovered. That prenup Deshawn made me sign 5 years ago? Invalid. The notary signature was forged. Deshawn had used his cousin to witness instead of a proper notary. That meant the prenup was worthless. Everything we acquired during our marriage was marital property, and since my money funded his business, I had a claim to 50% of Matthew's construction. The house? My down payment was documented. Tennessee law recognized my contribution. I had a right to stay while we sorted out the divorce. Deshawn would have to leave. His business? About to be investigated for fraud. Not because I made anything up, but because those forensic accountants found what I'd suspected for weeks. He'd been cooking the books, overbilling clients, using money from new projects to cover debts on old ones, taking loans he never reported. Classic contractor fraud. When Deshawn came home that evening, he found his clothes in trash bags on the front porch. I'd changed the locks with court approval. Marcus was there with a sheriff's deputy to serve him with divorce papers, a restraining order, and a notice that the Tennessee Department of Commerce was investigating Matthew's construction. His face went from confused to angry to absolutely terrified in about 20 seconds. "You can't do this," he said. "This is my house, my company, my life." "No, baby," I replied from the doorway, one hand on my belly. "This is my house, bought with my down payment. That company was started with my money. And that life you were planning with Raven? Built on lies, fraud, and really poor judgment." Raven showed up 30 minutes later, screaming about how this wasn't fair, how Deshawn loved her, how they were supposed to be together. That's when I dropped the truth. "Raven, honey, I don't think you're really pregnant. You've been wearing the same maternity dress for weeks, but your body hasn't changed at all. But here's what you don't know. I hired a private investigator. You've been running this exact scam at 3 other companies in the past 5 years. You got one man to pay for an abortion you never had. You got another to give you $20,000 for baby expenses before disappearing. This is just your latest hustle. Her face told me everything. She wasn't in love with Deshaun. She wanted the lifestyle. The nice house in Cordova, the BMW he bought her, the business she wanted him to fund. She thought she'd found an easy target in a guilty man with access to money. But she picked the wrong wife to cross. The fallout was brutal and fast. Matthews Construction fired Deshaun while they investigated. The state opened a criminal investigation. His bank accounts got frozen. Raven got exposed on social media. That recording I made at the baby shower? Someone at the party filmed the whole thing. The video went viral. Millions of views across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Everyone saw her walk in wearing my dress. Everyone heard her admit to taking my money. Everyone watched me stay calm while my world exploded. They turned on each other so fast it would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. Deshaun blamed Raven for being a gold digger. Raven blamed Deshaun for lying about leaving me. Neither of them took responsibility for being terrible people who deserved each other. This is what happens when you underestimate a black woman who's been documenting everything. If you're loving this story of betrayal and calculated revenge, leave a comment telling me your thoughts on cheating in marriage. Should Keisha have tried to work it out, or did she do the right thing? Hit that subscribe button. 2 weeks after that baby shower, my water broke at 3:0 inches the morning. Tamika drove me to the hospital while Deshaun was somewhere doing something with someone. I didn't care anymore. He wasn't part of this story anymore. My son, Isaiah Marcus Matthews, came into this world at 6:47 a.m., weighing 7 pounds, 4 ounces, with 10 perfect fingers, 10 perfect toes, and a mother who would burn the world down to protect him. The moment I held him, still exhausted from 14 hours of labor, everything became crystal clear. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about survival. About making sure my son grew up knowing his mother was strong, that she didn't crumble when life got hard, that she fought for what was right. Deshaun showed up at the hospital the next day with flowers and apologies. He wanted to see the baby. He wanted to talk. He cried and said he made a mistake, that he loved me, that Raven meant nothing. But I remembered the 5 months of lies. I remembered him planning to leave me after I gave birth. I remembered Raven rubbing her fake belly in my face. You can see him through the nursery window, I told him. Marcus will be in touch about custody arrangements. He got supervised visitation, 2 hours every other Sunday, at a facility with cameras and witnesses present. He pays child support based on his old income, which means he's struggling now because most of his assets are frozen or being liquidated to pay back the clients he defrauded. Last I heard, he's working for someone else's construction company in Nashville, trying to rebuild from nothing. As for Raven, she disappeared from Memphis. No job, no prospects, and a reputation that follows her everywhere thanks to social media. Someone found her real social media accounts, the ones she used at other companies under different names, posted them all publicly. Now everyone knows her pattern. Her face is attached to the words scammer and fake pregnancy forever. Suddenly, my accounting practice exploded. Women from all over Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas started calling me. They wanted someone who understood the importance of financial independence. They wanted to work with a woman who knew what it meant to protect yourself. I landed a contract to handle accounting for a $5 million real estate development. The developer, Mrs. Sharon Hayes, went through her own messy divorce and wanted to work with someone who understood that one contract was worth more than everything I'd done before. My practice now has 6 employees. We're handling accounts for small businesses, individuals, and real estate projects across 3 states. But success came with challenges. Being a single mother is hard. There are nights when Isaiah won't stop crying. When I'm so tired I can barely stand. When I wonder if I made the right choice by not trying to work things out for my son's sake. Then I remember what my grandmother taught me. A child is better off with one strong parent than two parents in a toxic situation. Tamika moved in with me for the first 4 months to help. My mother came every weekend. My church family took turns bringing meals. I hired a nanny, a wonderful woman named Miss Dorothy, who treats Isaiah like her own grandson. It takes a village, and I'm grateful for mine. 6 months after that baby shower, I ran into Deshaun at Target. He looked worn down, defeated, like life had beaten him up. He asked if we could talk. I said no. He asked if I hated him. I told him the truth. I don't hate you, Deshaun. I just don't think about you at all anymore. That's the real power, isn't it? Not revenge. Not making someone's life miserable, though I won't lie and say there isn't some satisfaction in watching consequences catch up with people. The real power is in moving forward, in building something better, in refusing to let someone else's betrayal define your story. People ask me all the time how I stayed so calm at that baby shower, how I didn't fight Raven or curse Deshaun out in front of everyone. The truth is, I did break down. Later, in private, with Tamika holding my hand while I cried for the future I thought I'd have, for the family I thought we were building, for the man I thought Deshaun was. But in that moment, in that backyard, I knew that falling apart would give them what they wanted. They wanted me to be the angry black woman, the one losing control, the one they could use against me in court later. So I refused. I stayed calm, stayed smart, and let my preparation speak for itself. Isaiah is 18 months old now. He has my eyes and my grandmother's smile. He's walking, climbing everything, getting into trouble, and I love him more than I thought it was possible to love anyone. Deshaun sees him twice a month now. He's consistent with visits. He brings gifts, takes pictures, plays with him. But he's not Isaiah's father in any real sense. He's just a man who visits sometimes. The real father figures in Isaiah's life are my father, who drives from Jackson every month to see his grandson, and my brother Marcus, who teaches Isaiah new words and makes him laugh, and Jerome from church, who treats my son like his own nephew. It turns out family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about who shows up. This journey from betrayal to victory isn't just about revenge. It's about surviving infidelity, protecting yourself financially, and building a new life from the ashes. If this story is resonating with you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below and tell me what you think about second chances and whether cheaters deserve forgiveness. Don't go anywhere because we're not done yet. A year and a half after that baby shower, life had settled into a new rhythm. My accounting practice was thriving beyond anything I imagined. I got invited to speak at conferences about financial literacy for women, about protecting yourself legally, about rebuilding after betrayal. But the story of Deshaun and Raven wasn't finished. Karma, it turns out, works slowly but thoroughly. Matthew's construction collapsed completely. The investigation revealed Deshaun had defrauded clients of over $400,000. He faced criminal charges, civil lawsuits from at least 15 different clients who lost money. His family had to sell property to pay back some of the people he cheated. His mother called me once, crying, begging me to drop the lawsuits, to show mercy. He made a mistake, she said. We all make mistakes. I was gentle but firm with her. Mrs. Matthews, what Deshaun did wasn't a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. What he did was fraud, theft, and betrayal. He stole from clients. He stole from our marriage. He planned to abandon his child. I can't fix this for him, and I won't try. She hung up angry, but I felt no guilt. I'd spent too many years making myself smaller, making excuses for Deshaun, protecting his image while he destroyed everything we built. Those days were over. As for Raven, her story took an even darker turn. She moved to Charlotte, got a job at another construction company, and guess what? She tried the same scam. Seduced a married manager, claimed she was pregnant, tried to extort him. But this man's wife was even more prepared than I was. She had Raven arrested for fraud and extortion. Raven spent 60 days in jail before taking a plea deal. The internet never forgets. Every time Raven applies for a job now, a simple Google search shows the videos, the mugshot, the court documents. She tried to reinvent herself online, but people always find out. Last I heard from someone who knew her family, she moved back to Mississippi, working at a call center, trying to disappear from public life. I should feel sorry for her. That's what people expect, right? Christian forgiveness, grace. Moving on. But I don't feel sorry for her. She knew exactly what she was doing when she walked into my baby shower wearing my dress. She knew I was pregnant. She knew she was destroying a family. She did it anyway because she thought she could win, thought she could take my life and live it better than me. She was wrong. One day, I was at the park with Isaiah, watching him play on the swings, when a young woman approached me. She was maybe 24, well-dressed, hesitant. "Excuse me, are you Keisha Matthews?" she asked. "Yes," I said, immediately on guard. You never know who people are these days. "I saw your story online. The video from your baby shower. I just wanted to thank you." I was confused. Thank me for what? My fiancé was cheating on me. I knew it, but I kept making excuses, kept believing his lies. Then I saw what you did, how you protected yourself, how you documented everything, how you had a plan. It inspired me. I left him. I started protecting my money. I'm free now because you showed me it was possible. She shook my hand and walked away before I could respond. But her words stayed with me for days. I realized then that my story wasn't just about me anymore. It had become something bigger. Other women saw themselves in my situation. They saw that you don't have to accept betrayal. You don't have to forgive people who deliberately hurt you. You can protect yourself, fight back, and win. I started writing a book, not just about my story, but about financial protection for women, about the importance of keeping your own accounts, your own credit, your own records, about reading every document before you sign, about trusting your instincts when something feels wrong. The book became a bestseller in the South. Women's groups invited me to speak. Churches invited me to share my testimony, though I always made it clear my message wasn't about religion. It was about power, about refusing to be a victim, about taking control of your own story. Deshaun tried to stop the book from being published. He hired a lawyer to threaten me with defamation. But everything I wrote was true and documented. The lawyer dropped the case when he realized Deshaun had no grounds to stand on. Isaiah is 2 years old now. He calls Tamika Titi and runs to her whenever she visits. He calls my father Pop Pop and demands stories about when I was little. He's happy, healthy, loved. He doesn't know yet what his father did, what almost happened to us. Someday I'll tell him when he's old enough to understand. But for now, he just knows he's safe, protected, cherished. Deshaun asked if he could have unsupervised visitation. His lawyer argued that he'd been consistent with visits for 2 years, that he'd changed, that he deserved more time with his son. The judge asked me what I thought. "Your Honor," I said, "Deshaun has shown up for scheduled visits. That's the bare minimum of fatherhood. But he hasn't shown real change. He hasn't acknowledged the depth of what he did. He hasn't made things right with the people he defrauded. He's just serving his time, waiting for people to forget. My son deserves better than the bare minimum." The judge agreed. Supervised visitation continues. Maybe in a few years, if Deshaun truly changes, truly makes amends, we'll revisit it. But I'm not holding my breath. This is what happens when you stand up against betrayal and refuse to let a cheating spouse destroy your life. If you believe in standing up for yourself like Keisha did, drop a comment saying "I document everything" and hit that subscribe button. Share this with someone who needs to hear this message. 3 years after that baby shower, I'm standing in my new office in downtown Memphis. My accounting firm now has 12 employees. We're working with clients in 8 states. I'm being interviewed for Essence magazine. The reporter asks me the question everyone always asks. Do you regret how things ended with your ex-husband? I think about it for a moment. Really think about it. No, I say. I regret that it happened. I regret that I trusted someone who didn't deserve it. I regret that my son won't grow up with his father in the home. But I don't regret protecting myself and my child. I don't regret fighting back. I don't regret winning. The reporter nods, typing notes. What would you say to women in similar situations? Protect yourself before you need protection. Keep your own money, your own accounts, your own records. Read every document. Trust your instincts. And if someone betrays you, don't let anyone make you feel guilty for defending yourself. Your dignity is not negotiable. Your security is not optional. Your children's future is not something you compromise on to keep the peace. After the interview, I pick up Isaiah from his Montessori school. He runs to me with a painting he made, talking a mile a minute about his day. He drew a picture of our family, me, him, Titi, Pop, Miss Dorothy. Deshaun is not in the picture. Not because I told him not to include his father, but because at 2 years old, this is his family. The people who show up every day. We go home to the house I fought for, the house that's truly mine now. I cook spaghetti for dinner while Isaiah plays. Later, I give him a bath, read him stories, sing him to sleep. This is my life now. Not perfect, but mine. Built on my own terms, protected by my own planning, secured by my own strength. Sometimes late at night, after Isaiah's asleep, I think about Deshaun. Not with anger anymore. Not even with sadness, really. Just with a kind of distant curiosity about how someone can throw away everything good in their life for something so temporary. How he traded a woman who loved him, supported him, built him up for a woman who was using him. How he traded his family for an illusion. His life is small now. He works for someone else, lives in a small apartment, drives a used truck. He pays child support, but it's not much because he doesn't earn much. His family barely speaks to him. His reputation is ruined. Me? I'm thriving. I'm building something that will last, something I can pass on to Isaiah. I'm teaching him through my actions what my grandmother taught me through her words. Never make yourself invisible in your own life. Never depend completely on anyone else. Never stop protecting yourself. I'm dating someone now. A good man. A teacher named Brandon who knows my whole story and respects it. He doesn't try to fix me or save me because he knows I already saved myself. He doesn't ask me to trust blindly because he understands why I verify everything. He shows up consistently, transparently, honestly. We take things slow. Isaiah comes first, and he understands that. Maybe this will become something serious. Maybe it won't. Either way, I'm okay. Because here's what I learned through all of this. You don't need a man to complete you, to save you, to give your life meaning. You need yourself. Your own strength, your own wisdom, your own ability to stand up when life knocks you down. People still recognize me sometimes. The woman from the video, they say. The one who stayed calm. They stop me to take pictures, to thank me, to tell me their own stories of survival. I listen to every single one because I know what it feels like to think you're alone, to think no one will understand, to think you have to stay in a situation that's killing you, slowly. You don't have to stay. You don't have to forgive. You don't have to make it easy for people who hurt you. You don't have to be the bigger person if being the bigger person means making yourself smaller. My grandmother was right about everything. Keep your receipts. Protect yourself. Never let anyone make you financially invisible. Trust your instincts. And when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Isaiah will grow up knowing his mother didn't fall apart when her world collapsed. He'll know she stood up, fought back, documented everything, and built something better from the ashes. He'll know that being smart is better than being loud, that patience is more powerful than immediate revenge, that sometimes the best thing you can do is smile, record everything, and let consequences do the rest. This story isn't really about revenge. It's about power. The power to protect yourself. The power to walk away. The power to rebuild. The power to refuse to be a victim, even when someone tries to make you one. That day at my baby shower, when Raven walked in wearing my dress, she thought she was winning. She thought public humiliation would break me, would make me run away crying, would clear the path for her to step into my life. She didn't know I'd been preparing. She didn't know I'd been documenting. She didn't know that underestimating a black woman who's been paying attention is the biggest mistake you can make. 3 years later, I'm standing in my kitchen making breakfast for my son, running a successful business, living in a house I own completely, dating a good man on my own terms, and finishing my second book. Raven is in hiding. Deshawn is struggling. And I'm free. That's the real ending to this story. Not revenge. Freedom. The freedom to live authentically, to protect yourself unapologetically, to build something that's truly yours. So to everyone watching this, especially the women, protect yourself now before you think you need to. Keep your own accounts. Keep your receipts. Keep your own credit. Read every paper. Trust your instincts. Don't make excuses for people who show you they don't deserve your trust. And if you ever find yourself at your own version of that baby shower, facing your own version of public betrayal, remember that staying calm and being strategic is more powerful than making a scene. You don't have to forgive everyone. You don't have to make peace with people who declared war on you. You do have to protect yourself, your children, your future, and you will survive. You will rebuild. You will thrive. Because that's what we do. We survive. We rise. We win. If this story touched you, if it taught you something, if it made you think about your own life differently, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, subscribe to Heart of Fire Stories so you never miss stories about real women facing real challenges. Second, like this video and share it with every woman you know who needs to hear this message. Third, comment below and tell me the most important lesson you learned from Keisha's story. Was it about keeping receipts? About trusting your instincts? About protecting yourself financially? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next story. Remember, you are not a victim. You are a survivor. You are powerful. You are the strategic queen of your own life. Never forget that.